Good day, grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's English First Additional Language lesson. My name is Elizabeth Meyer, and this lesson is brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Education in collaboration with Discovery Centre, Sibona Discovery Centre. Please remember our WhatsApp number 064 748 8913, and you're always welcome to send a question or a comment. So, what's happening today? Well, I hope you know that we're almost there. Well, it's here. Paper 1 is around the corner, and I'm here today just to quickly go through everything again, give you a crash course and remind you of everything that's important related to Paper 1. So, make sure you've got pen and paper ready. This is going to be a bumpy ride. Let's start. Right, I want to start with the instructions when you get your question paper. Just to remind you again that you will be with 3 sections. You'll have a comprehension, a summary, and a language section. Now you have to remember to answer all questions. You don't have a choice, but you can decide where you want to start. If you read your instructions carefully, you will say it doesn't say that you have to start with question 1. So you can start with question 2 or 3. Whichever section you start with, please remember to start on a new page. It makes it easier for the marker and for yourself. Always number exactly as the questions has been numbered. Now, always remember when you've got a multiple choice question, and you'll definitely get some of those, write down the number and the letter in your answer book. Remember, this is a language paper, so you have to make sure your spelling and sentence construction is perfect. I promise you, you will have enough time for this paper, but you have to manage your time well. So for section A, your comprehension, you're going to have about 50 minutes. Section B, you can take 20 minutes, and for section C, give yourself about 50 minutes. Please make sure you write neatly and legibly. It makes it easier for everyone to read. Right, so you've got the instructions. Now, what must you do for paper 1? I know this is obvious, but make sure you've got the right question paper. In your school, you might be writing with other learners that are writing English home language, for instance. You have to make sure you have the right paper. Now, remember, you will be getting 10 minutes reading time. Use it. Use it to read through your comprehension passage. That will save you time when you have to read it more than once later on. So when the exam starts, in other words, after your 10 minutes reading time, read the passage again. Now you can take your highlighter or your pen or your pencil and underline those key ideas. Remember, you should have now a very good idea what's happening in your paper by now. After you've read it twice and after you've used your highlighter, and remember, you can scratch on it, do whatever you want to do on your question paper. Now, Should I say?
Yes, you can now. At 40 seconds.
Okay. Hello and welcome back again. We're still busy with comprehension. So I'm explaining that the very first step you have to do while reading your questions is obviously to underline your question word. Why? Because it will give you a very good idea as to what is expected of you. So make sure, and as you can see on the screen, I've got a whole list for you here of question words. Now, if you look at the last bullet at this stage, you'll see it says quote. Now, always remember, when you quote, it means you have to take the words from the passage directly as they are. Now, always make sure they will tell you exactly how many words or how long your phrase must be. Make double sure that you've done the right spelling and you haven't perhaps made a spelling mistake, because unfortunately then it will be incorrect. Right, let's see what's next. Explain. Now, usually an explain question is a 2 or a 3 mark question. So you have to give me a number of facts and a number of reasons why you approve or not approve. Explain to me exactly what's happening and make sure you've included enough details. If you're not sure how much you have to include, always refer to your mark allocation. That will give you a very good idea as to how much you have to write. But it's usually 1 mark, 1 fact. Discuss. Now, usually we use discuss in an open-ended question. Now, with open-ended questions, remember, you have to use your peel method. Remember, we make a point, I give an example, you explain and link it back. Right, but you have done now all the question words. So I thought it would be a good idea to show you how easy it is to find answers in a text. So I have a small little text here on the screen. It's called It's in the Bag. So I'm just quickly going to read it to you. It says, whether you live on your own or as a family, finding the time and energy to prepare home-cooked meals seems like a daunting task. Over the years, people have thought of different ways to minimize the time they spend cooking in order to have more time with family and friends. So if you just look at it, you'll see this is the first paragraph and we've numbered the paragraph on the left for you. So when you go to the questions, you're going to see they refer you to exact paragraphs. So make sure when we say refer to paragraph 1, you do that. In other words, you have to go back to that paragraph. That is where the answer is going to be. Now, question 1.1 says, refer to paragraph 1, state one benefit of spending less time preparing home-cooked meals. Now, remember step 1? You have to underline your question word. So, the idea is you have to give us how many? Well, one benefit of spending less time preparing for home-cooked meals. And as you can look at the mark allocation, it's literally only 1 mark. So, where do I find the answer? Well, it's right in front of you, in that paragraph. And I'm sure it is so easy. Let me just show you quickly where it was. Let's go back. Let's see if we can quickly go back for you. Right. I'm too fast for myself today. let's just go try and see. No, you want to go back. Now, the obvious answer was that you have to spend more time with your family. Now, let's look at question number 2. In this case, I've given you paragraph number 2. And it says the Wonder Bag. Now, remember in paragraph 1, they spoke about ways to minimize time. The Wonder Bag, which was invented in South Africa in 2008, is one product which responded to this need. Now, if you remember, and this is what you really have to do when you read your passage, this need obviously refers back to your paragraph 1. Remember the need to minimize time cooking? This product originated from Sarah Collins, an entrepreneur and social activist who had the desire to continue cooking during a national power outage. Oh, this is important. And you know how bad we have outages the whole time. So this is actually a great idea, isn't it? This award-winning, revolutionary, non-electric heat retention cooking bag. Sure, can you see all these words describing your cooking bag? Has come in different sizes. It allows food that has been brought to a boil by conventional methods to continue to cook up for 12 hours without using additional energy sources. So that's our paragraph 2. So let's look at question 1.2. It says refer to paragraph 2. Now remember, once again, they're going to refer you right back to that paragraph. Now, using your own words. Sure. And this is really important. Remember, you cannot quote here. You have to use your own words. Now, most of the time in your question paper, you have to use your own words unless you are asked to quote. Now, using your own words, explain why Sarah Collins invented the Wonder Bag. Okay, so why did she do this? Now, if we just go back and you'll see what I've done is I've underlined this sentence, well, where the answer is in. This award-winning, revolutionary, non-electric heat retention cooking bag has come in different sizes and allows food to have been brought to boil by conventional methods to continue cooking. Right, so can you figure out what the answer is here? Right, she invented the Wonder Bag to find a solution for people to cook when the electricity was off. Remember, we spoke about the national power outage here, during load shedding or a power failure or during a blackout. Now, make sure, obviously, you could not have used these words, national power outage. So you have to give us another word. And that's why we said blackout or power failure or even load shedding. All right. So she made this bag for people to cook food. Right. And as you can see, here will be 1 mark. And there will be my 2nd mark. And this will give you 2 marks per salad. It's actually really easy if you like. So let's look at this one. We are still in paragraph 2. Now we've given you a question. We've given you a statement. And we want to know why is the statement false. So which means we're already telling you it's false. It's wrong. The statement is wrong. We want reasons as to why it's wrong. So what is the statement they've made? They said raw food can be cooked in a Wonder Bag. Now remember, they're still referring us back to paragraph 2, so the answer will be here. Now, I'm sure you found it. It allows food that has been brought to the boil by conventional methods to continue to cook. Aha. So this is where it's important. We first had to get the food to boil, and then it will continue to cook. So, which means raw food is definitely not going to work. So, let's look at your answer. You have to tell us, remember, always in full sentence. Food must be boiled or pre-cooked. Now, you could have added on a stove or a fire. It's not important. The main thing is the pre-cooked or boiled part before it's placed in a wonder bag. And how many marks do you think a question like this will be? Well, it's usually 1 mark. As easy as that. Right, let's look at another one. As you can see, we're now in paragraph 3, and we have a multiple choice. So it says, choose the correct answer to complete the following sentence. The word vulnerable in line 13 means the same as. Now, you will have to go back to line 13. Now, this is where line 13 is, and you can see I've highlighted it for you there. Now, be careful. You have to go back and read the whole sentence because the word has a specific meaning in context. So you can't take it out of context. So let's go back and see. It's an innovative solution for Africa's most vulnerable communities. So vulnerable is actually describing our communities and the environment. So means the same as, so we're looking for a synonym. Now let's see. The best way to do a multiple choice is to figure out which ones are completely useless or not relevant to the answer. So what we do is we eliminate those are not working. So what I'll do is I'll just put each one in. So let's see. Will helpless work for South Africa's most helpless communities? Possible. Let's see. We'll keep it open. Homeless? I don't think vulnerable means homeless. No. We're going to eliminate that one. Timeless communities? It's got nothing to do with time. Priceless? No. If we have eliminated B, C, and D, the only thing that's left is helpless. If you're vulnerable, you're helpless. Let's see if our answer is correct. And yes, it is. Now remember, when you do a multiple choice, you have to write down the number and the letter. You can write down the answer as well. And that will give you 1 mark. Right. So that's in a summary quickly for comprehension, just to give you a good idea. Most important, read the passage. You have to read it at least twice and then go back to your questions, go through your questions, find those question words and keywords, and then go back to your passage and find the answers. Now, question 2 for 10 marks is probably one of the easiest questions there are. And that's why I always tell my learners, it's a good idea to do this first. So, but let's look at the summary in detail to make sure you can get your 10 marks. Now, remember, this question will require from you to find 7 points. So please note, very important, 7 points with regard to a specific instruction we'll give you. Usually, they bold the instruction. Now, what you need to do is take your highlighter and make a big underline it, highlight it so that you remember the instruction. So, let's look at the instruction. It says, Section B, Summary Question 2. Mushrooms have been proven to be a superfood when it comes to plant-based diets, with various benefits to tap into. So this is the introductory sentence. This is just to give you a little bit of background, okay? So they always will include something like this to give you an idea what the article is about. Now, read text C below and list 7 points on the benefits of eating mushrooms. And this is the instruction I'm looking for. Only the benefits of eating mushrooms. In other words, why is eating mushrooms good for me? So keep this in mind the whole time when you do your summary. This is your instruction, and it's extremely important that you keep it in mind when you go to the next step. So let's look at the instructions. Your summary must be written in point form. Now, point form means number 1, number 2, number 3. Not dots, hearts, stars. Nope, nothing like that. Point form means 1 point, 2 point, 3 point. Right. You have to list your 7 points. Remember, you're still looking for 7 points in full sentences. This is really important. So, how do you know it's in a full sentence? Well, there must be a verb. So make always sure you have a verb in your sentence. And you are limited to not more than 70 words. You have to number your sentences 1 to 7. Remember, because we're looking for 7 facts, and you're numbering them 1 to 7. Write only 1 point per sentence. In other words, write only 1 fact per sentence. Why is this important? Let's say you decide to include a second fact in your sentence. Unfortunately, we're only going to mark the first one. And if the first one is incorrect, then it's too bad. To make sure, 1 fact per sentence. Right. Use your own words as far as possible. This is really difficult at times, I know, but really try to do it in your own words. And very important, you have to indicate the total number of words you've used in the brackets. Let me just give you a tip. We do count every summary, so make sure you count correctly as well. Remember, 70 words. Don't go over 70 words. You can write less than 70 words, but not more than 70 words. Right. Let me give you a few steps to help you when you do your summary. Step 1. Identify and underline your main facts. Remember, you've got your pen and your pencil in your hand, and as you're reading, keeping that instruction very close in your mind, you will ask yourself, is this relevant? Is this relevant? Yes, let me underline this idea. Now, delete all the information like examples and sentences that has nothing to do with your instruction. Remember, our instruction is why people should eat mushrooms. So if they're talking about how to grow mushrooms, it's not relevant. Delete it. Now, next step is to keep all the sentences that are important according to your instruction. Now, remember, you have identified them, you've deleted all the rest, and you're keeping what's important. Now, this is the big one. Now, you have to substitute. Now, substitute means you have to change at least one word in a sentence, keeping the same meaning. Remember, otherwise, if you're just keeping it as it is, you're quoting. And unfortunately, you're going to lose language marks if you do that. So, identify, delete, keep, and substitute. Step 5 is to write your summary then in point form. Remember, you have your 7 facts, so it's easy just to list them underneath each other. And your last step, count your number of words, do not exceed your number of words, and make sure you write number of words in brackets at the end of your summary. Now, is that as easy as it is? Yes, it is. But there's 1 or 2 things you still need to remember. Please make sure you use full sentences. Very, 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 very important. Next thing, please remember to strike through your draft or practice summary. In other words, you have to show me this is my final, And this is where I was practicing. So I'm going to strike it through. Make sure you do that. If you don't show us exactly which is your draft and which is your final, well, we'll have to mark the first one we see. Okay. That's as easy as that. Now, when you're done with the summary, the next part of your question paper has to do with your advertisement. Now, you will remember on Monday we discussed advertisements in detail. But I thought it would be a good idea just to quickly revise advertisements once again. The biggest tip I can give you is before you start looking at the questions, look at your advertisement and analyze it. Think critically. Think about what you see. Think about what the words are. Think about why have they included these words. So let's look quickly at your advertisement that I've included. Now, I think it's quite a cute one. We see two pairs of legs with socks on, quite cute socks, on a skateboard. And the words on the right hand says, find a pair of awesome. Presenting jockey socks. So obviously they're advertising the socks, that's quite clear. And we have a little logo here, as you can see. And here's our brand, Jockey or Nothing. And that's our slogan then as well. Hey, Jockey or Nothing. Wow. Now, there's a lot of information here in small print. Now, in the exam, they will definitely retype this for you so that you'll be able to see exactly what it says there. But in this case, I would like you to focus just on the visuals. Let's quickly look at that. We don't know whether it's male or female. You can't assume. We can obviously, the socks are important. Find a pair of awesome. A pair is of obviously two. But obviously, these people are a pair because they are together on the skateboard. Okay, so let's look at possible questions that we like to ask you with regard to advertisement. Analyze the advertisement and the visual on the word. Okay, we've done it. They're definitely advertising socks. We see people on a skateboard. Words fit with that. Can you see the connection between the picture and the words? Find a pair of awesome. So obviously referring to the pair of socks, and it will be an awesome pair of socks, but also these people in your advertisement is a pair. So we play on the words of two. And maybe perhaps with the idea that you should not only have one pair of socks, but two pairs of socks. They're so cute. Right. Let's look at the next thing. So who's the target audience here? In other words, who's going to buy this? Now, these are quite funky socks. And I think the skateboard gives us the idea that it might be people or teenagers who like to wear interesting socks. Right, remember, you can't just say people. You need to tell me exactly who will be buying this. Or you can just say people who like to wear socks or teenagers. We get the idea of teenagers with a skateboard. Yes, or people who like to wear jockey, for instance. And then specifically, jockey socks. Right, let's try the next one. So what is the connection between the words and the pictures? Can you see how easy it is? When we analyze the advertisement, we did all of it in one. So we've got a pair of socks and awesome. Obviously, the socks are awesome. Contact information? Now, I know you can't see here, and it's quite small, but let's pretend there is contact information. Now, remember, usually they include some way to contact the shop or whoever's advertising jockey so that you'll be able to get more information. You can even lay a complaint for that matter. So that's why there's contact information. And obviously get more information if you need it. Are there any persuasive techniques used? Yes, I think so. Let's quickly look. Especially the slogan, jockey or nothing, suggests that if you want to wear the best, you have to wear jockey or nothing. So that's one way to persuade you. And obviously using the word awesome, a pair of awesome, not a pair of great socks or cute socks, but awesome. So when you're wearing these socks, wow, you're going to be really awesome. Can you see how they persuade you? Now, we love asking you this question. Is it effective? In other words, does this advertisement work? Now, this is the interesting question. You can say yes because it's colorful and interesting socks, for one, but you can also say no, it doesn't work. Because who is going to be on a skateboard on socks? It's not real. You get hurt if you're on socks on a skateboard. Just my opinion. Whatever you do, make sure you refer back to the text, to the visuals and the words when you give your opinion. I'm sure this is going to help you when you do your advertisement question. So let's move on. Talking about socks, I found the following cartoon about socks. It says, okay, everyone, remember the buddy system. And you can see you've got all these little socks here, and they're going to a field trip today. So a field trip is like an excursion. They're going somewhere. Now, where are these socks going? To the washing machine. This is where they're going. So let's look at what happens. Now, remember, when you get a cartoon, same thing. I need you to analyze it frame by frame. Now, in this case, we only have one frame. But make sure you analyze it. Where is it happening? Who's in the place? Why are they doing this? Before you jump into those questions. Now, where is it taking place? Well, obviously somewhere in the kitchen or the laundry room. Because, well, why do I know this? Because there's a washing machine. Okay. And you can see its doors wide open. We get the idea this is a washing machine. So either in the kitchen or in a laundry room. So next questions are, look at the people. Now, in this case, we don't have people, we have socks. What are the socks doing? Well, it seems like they're on their way to get into the washing machine. Can you see they're all looking at the washing machine? And they're standing close to each other, pair by pair, to go into the washing machine. So focus on their facial expression, body language, and posture. Now, look at these big eyes, You can see, this is very serious. Remember the buddy system. Now, a buddy system means you have to stick to your friend. Now, this is obviously funny. Why? Because socks get lost in the washing machine the whole time. Just ask your mom or dad, whoever's doing the laundry. They'll tell you socks get lost the whole time. Right, but as you can see, big eyes, we're only focusing on the eyes. Right, and you can see this little guy here, he's literally very inquisitive. You can see he's very curious as to what's happening inside that washing machine. Right, and how's humor created? As I said, when socks goes into a washing machine, it often happens that only one of them comes out. And this is why, when this little sock says, remember the buddy system, and if you look at the words, it's bigger, it's in bold, it's in italics. This is where the focus is on. It's all about the buddy system. Why? Because socks get lost in the washing machine. Maybe they go to another field trip. We don't know. In any case, that's cartoons for you, and I'm sure you'll be able to answer them. Now, let's move on to question 5. And this is where I really want to spend some time on today. So you're focusing on language and editing. Now, when you prepare for your paper 1, now we're getting really serious. I have a list here of language questions we love asking. So I thought it would be a good idea to make sure that you make this list and make sure when you study that you've revised all these language skills. So let's run through them quickly. Conjunctions, tag questions, passives, reported speech, changing questions or sentences into a questions or a negative or into another tense, parts of speech, and then your favorite synonyms, homophones, homonyms, all those ones. So obviously there's a lot more, but make sure you focus on these as well, because these are the kind of questions that often is asked in your question paper. And as you can see, we've included the marks for you. And now you're able to see if you can just do all of this, then at least you have quite a number of marks for language. I know it seems daunting. So you have to know your grammar rules. You can't think because you can speak English, you can answer all the language questions. You have to learn for paper 1, especially for question 5. So I found this little joke. After the English exam, the guy here was asked, how was the paper? He answered, it was easy, but question 5 confused me. What was the question? Question 5 wanted the past tense of think. I thought, and I thought, and thought, and ended up writing thinked. I hope you don't do that. So please remember this one, that you don't do this, but make sure you know your grammar rules. Right. Now, let's start with the basics first. You have to know your 8 parts of speech. In other words, you have to be able to identify them in a sentence, and you have to know what is their function, each one. Now, I've got the whole list for you here, and I'm sure you know it, ladies and gents, but make sure you know it on the tip of your fingers. Let's run through them quickly. You know what a noun is? Something you can taste, you can touch, you can see. It's usually written in capital letters if it's the name of a person or a city. Pronoun stands in the place of a noun. That's where we have he and she and we and they and them and those ones. Verbs, there's a whole lot of verbs, and we'll be discussing it later when we do tenses. Your adverb is obviously describing your verb. Now, remember there we've got manner, place, time. So you have to make sure you know all the different kinds of adverbs to be able to recognize them. Your adjective usually describes your noun. Now, once again, with all of these, you have to remember these degrees of comparison that also can take place. So make sure you focus on that. Prepositions, let me just remind you quickly, shows as relationship between things. For instance, under, over, up, between. So make sure you go through your list. Conjunctions, we'll focus a few on them. I'm sure you know all of them. It's easy to recognize, but sometimes it's difficult when we give you a conjunction and we ask you to combine 2 sentences. But don't worry, I'll show you. And then, of course, interjections like aha and oops. Right, so you have to know your 8 parts of speech. And when you get a question where you are required to do or to recognize the parts of speech, first, in your head, just quickly go through all 8. Now, this is now your turn. Here's a question. Identify the parts of speech of the underlined words. Now, remember, focus on the underlined words. Now, can I give you a tip? Once again, don't just jump in a sentence like that. The easier thing is always to find your verb. If you find your verb, it's easy to find the rest of the things. So your sentence is, the hope is that the tour will end with an amazing show in South Africa. Now, let's quickly look. That's easy. Will end is your verb, but it's not the one that's underlined. So, now you have to look at the other ones. But I'm sure you know this. So this is just easy practice. So let's quickly look at your answers. The is, of course, an article. That was easy. Tour is a noun. Why? Because we can make tours, more than one. And obviously we can touch it. Amazing is an adjective. Why? Because amazing is describing a show, and show is again a noun. Okay. In is a preposition because it tells us where in South Africa, and then South Africa is, of course, another noun. It's really very, very easy. The main thing is you have to go step by step. Take each word on its own and think, where does it fit in? Right. Let's go to tenses. I know sometimes these can be quite daunting. So I found this cute little picture to show you. And I know it looks confusing, but it's actually very, very easy. So this is what we call a timeline. And this is where you are. You are here in the present, and we have a simple present tense. I do my homework every day, and I hope you have done it. So I do my homework every day. Now, in a specific moment in the present, then you will say, I am doing my homework now. So at that moment, you are doing your homework. I am doing my homework. And you'll see on the right-hand side, I've done it very simplistic for you. Simple tense, I do my homework. Present continuous tense, I am doing my homework. Now remember, we're still in the present. And what happens if you have done it? You've just done it. There you are. You have just completed. Then you say, I have done my homework. And that's a present perfect tense. Perfect tells me just completed. I think there's one more tense that you have to know. Present perfect continuous. That's where it starts somewhere. So, since 9 o'clock this morning, I have been doing my homework. So it started somewhere in the present. It started this morning, so we're still in the present. And as you can see, my little arrow, and you have to be doing it up to a certain point. Right. So these are the tenses for present tense. And it's, as you can see, really easy. So we always have, with the present simple tense, is what we call the first column. I am doing, remember here we use am, is, and are. Have done, going to use has or have. And here with your perfect present continuous tense is have or has been doing. See, the ing, like here, shows me it is continuous. Ing, it's going on. Right, so that's a present tense. So let's recap quickly if we go to the past tense. Now, it's exactly the same thing. It's just so easy. Now we're in the past. So again, we start with the past simple tense. Yesterday, I did my homework. And now we are in the second column. Yesterday, I did my homework. Yesterday, at 3 o'clock. Remember, yesterday, at a specific moment in time, I was doing, there's my ing, telling me it's continuous tense. I was doing my homework. Yesterday at 3 o'clock, I was doing my homework. Now, the past perfect means I had done my homework. So, in a certain time in the past, I was done. Finished. That's when I was done. I just completed it in the past It's done. By 9 o'clock yesterday, I've done my homework. But if we go to the past perfect continuous, remember continuous is going to have an ing, and the past perfect, can you see how easy this is actually? This is like a combination of continuous and past perfect tense. I had been doing, and this is where my little arrow comes in here again. Can you see that? So for at a certain time, I had been doing my homework. There, I finished it, but there, I was still busy doing it. I had been doing it. Right. I'm sure it makes sense. It's so easy. All you have to remember, had done, we're working here with our third column verb. Now, we've done the present, we've done the past. Let's move to the future. And it's again, we start again with a simple tense. Tomorrow, I will do my work. Tomorrow, I will do my homework. Tomorrow, at 3 o'clock, there's my little specific place. Tomorrow, at 3 o'clock, I will be doing, there's my ing for continuous tense, I will be doing my homework. So tomorrow, I will be doing it. Future perfect tense means somewhere in the future, I will have completed my homework. It would have been perfect because I would have been done. I will have done my homework. And if we combine the future perfect and the continuous tense, when we've got the future perfect continuous tense, at a certain time in the future, I will have been doing my homework. Right. For instance, from 3 o'clock tomorrow, I will have been doing my homework for 2 hours. There you go. So, do you want to see the big picture? Let me show you the big picture. There, if we put everything together, it's actually so simple. Now remember, each tense has a simple tense, a continuous tense, and these are these little things here. Continuous tense to remind you at a specific moment in the present, the past, or the future. A perfect tense is when it's completed. It's perfect, it's done. And we always use then either had or have or will have. And for that to indicate at a certain time, I'm still busy, I'm not yet finished in the present and the past and the future, it means I had been doing. Right, I have been doing and I will have been doing. It's quite simple, isn't it? And you have to remember this idea in your head that when you are asked to write a sentence into the future tense or in the past tense, then it's easy to do that. Now, this is your turn again. There's 2 questions. Rewrite the following sentence in the future tense. Now, be careful. Sometimes we are very specific as to which future tense we want. In this case, I didn't tell you. So this can be any tense. So rewrite the following in the future tense. I am studying for English paper 1. Now, can you see there's an ing? So I have to stick to ing. Continues. So what will it be in future? I'll give you a minute to think. In the meantime, let's go to the second sentence. Rewrite the following sentence in the past tense. In this case, you are now being asked to write it in the past tense. It's just as easy. Can you see here? I have been studying. So this is our past perfect continuous tense. And this one was our present continuous tense. Right. Okay, let's see how well you did. Now, can you see I've rewritten the whole sentence? Why? Because the instruction was rewrite. Very important. You have to make sure that when you do your questions, remember I said to you, make sure you know what the question word is. In this case, it's rewrite. You have to rewrite the whole sentence. You can't just write, will be studying. You have to rewrite the whole sentence. So I am studying becomes tomorrow, I will be studying. I'm staying in the same tense. I still have my ing here. The only thing I changed is I will be studying. I am studying. Tomorrow, I will be studying. Now, let's look at the next one. Remember we said this one you have to rewrite again, but in this case we have to rewrite in the past tense. I have been studying. You remember this is a present tense. If we go back to the past tense, one step, the only thing that's going to change is have is going to change to had. I had been studying very hard for the exams for 3 hours now. Yesterday. That it's easy as that. Very important. Can you see I rewrite everything? I haven't changed anything on this. It's not necessary. I just had to change the thing. Okay. Let's go. Now, another thing we like to ask you is what we call tag questions. Now, I know this is easy, but let me just quickly remind you. So a tag question is a small question at the end of a sentence. It's like to ask, are you serious? Now, what we work here with, and this is almost physics, is positive and negative. You always have to have a positive and a negative. Remember, opposites attract. And this is what we have here. Now, let me show you how this works. So this is our sentence. You are a student. Now, you are is obviously positive. And now we have to give you a tag. And what we do is we say, aren't you? Now, the only thing I've done, I've taken the are and I've added a not. Aren't you? So I've done the contraction of are not. Right. As easy as that. Now remember, I'm taking the O away, and that's why I'm leaving a little apostrophe there. Right. You are a student, aren't you? Aren't you is, of course, the negative, and positive and negative work together. Let's try the next one. In this case, it says Mary isn't a teacher. Right? So that's a negative statement, and we're going to make it a positive statement at the end of a question with tag. Is she? It's as easy as that. So, what do you have to remember here? You have to remember to include this part. The question mark. That's the most important part. Sometimes they will ask you the question and they will give you part of a sentence and they will leave dot, 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 just like that. Now, you have to remember always to include a question mark. Remember, you're making a question. Now, do you want to try this? Here's the question. Rewrite the following sentences as a question tag. Now, here, let's look at it again. You have to rewrite it as a question tag. So we have to add a tag with a question, and that's where the trick comes, the question mark. Now, let's look at the first one. It says the exam paper will be 20 pages long. So, I don't know if it really will be 20 pages long. This is just a sentence. The second one says, my friends and I weren't following the instructions. And the third one says, Susie reads the comprehension carefully. So, let me give you a few seconds to try and figure this one out. Remember, first identify whether your sentence is positive or negative. Find your verb and then add or take away a not. It's as easy as that. So, do you want to try? Let's see. Remember, I'm rewriting it. So, the exam paper will be 20 pages long. Won't it? Well, I've deliberately placed this one here to remind you that if we add will plus not, because will is positive, so our tag has to be a negative tag, it will change to won't it. So where do I get the it? The it refers to the exam paper. Okay, remember, I don't have to repeat again exam paper, so I'm using the word it. And of course, I have remembered to include my question mark. Very, very, very important. Okay, so let's try the second one. My friends and I weren't following the instructions. Okay, find your verb. Weren't following is your verb. Positive or negative? This one is definitely a negative one. So my tag will have to be positive. So let's see what you did with this one. My friends and I weren't following the instructions. Can you see? I'm literally copying the sentence as it is. Very, very important. And then I add a comma. Were we? Because the we refers to my friends and I. I can't just say me or I. Were I? That doesn't sound right either. So remember, because it's my friends and I, so that makes we. And I've included my question mark. Were we? So that's where my positive one is. And this was the negative one. Now, if you do number 3, be careful. I've added a little pothole in your road. Let's see if you got it right. Again, find your verb. Susie reads. Now, that makes it a bit more difficult because in the previous cases, we had what we call an auxiliary verb. In other words, it's almost like a helping verb. And these ones are easy to change into the negative. But in this case, we've got reads. So what am I going to do? Because this is positive, my tag has to be negative. Let me show you. Susie reads the comprehension. Doesn't she? So how did I get to doesn't? Now, remember, this is my clue. This is the present simple tense. And Susie, because she's singular, she has to take a little s for, I always say, to carry with her. A little s as a companion. And because there's an s there on the verb, I have to use doesn't she? Question mark. Right. If the sentence read, let's do another one for you. Let's do this. They read the comprehension. Now this is still the present tense. What will this tag be? And this one will be don't they? Question mark. Because I'm still in the present tense. And remember, when I make a question in the present tense, I use don't. A question, do or does. So when I make a tag, I will have to use don't or doesn't in this case. Okay, it's really easy. You need to just figure it out. Don't just jump in and think you know the answer and write it down. Really go step by step. You have enough time. I promise you. Right, let's go on to conjunctions. Now, I've made a little block here and you can see all these puzzle pieces are conjunctions. While and although and for and either or and neither nor and yet and once and then, all of them. Now, conjunctions is glue that holds words or sentences together. So how are we going to ask it? So I want to just remind you of a few things quickly. Remember, most of the time we will give you a conjunction. In other words, you have to use ours that we give you. Secondly, don't repeat words. So you'll see what I mean. You can't repeat the same thing over and over again. If you can replace it, do so. Oh, this is why I did tenses first. You have to use the correct tense. Now, Concord rule. Remember that Concord rule is your subject and your verb must agree. Let's quickly look at this one. So there are rules. And unfortunately in this case, the best way is just to learn it. Let's do it quickly. Since, if I'm using since, my first verb will use the past simple tense. I have to figure out which one is that now. And my second verb is going to use the present perfect tense. So this is the only case with since we are actually using something from the past and something from the present. Here's my example. Susan inherits some money. She buy a new house. Oh, there's a full stop there. So I'm asking you to combine the sentences using since. Now let's look at it. Since Susan inherited. So this is my first verb. So this is the plain past simple tense. I've just added an ed. She, and now my second verb, this one, will have to go to the present perfect tense. Remember the present perfect tense? This is where we use has or have. She has bought a new house. Since Susan inherited some money, she has bought a new house. This is the rule. Best way, remember. Let's do another one. Now, after works differently. After, we're going to use the present perfect tense for your first verb, and for your second verb, we're going to use the present simple tense. Now, what is important is here, we're sticking to the same tense. We're in the present tense, you stay in the present tense. Now, Joe boiled the water, he made hot chocolate. Let's look at the answer quickly. After Joe has boiled, that's my first verb. I'm going to use present perfect tense. He makes present simple tense. Hot chocolate. As easy as that. So what if the verb I've given you is already in the past? Well, then all the verbs using after must stay in the past tense. So in this case, if in the past tense, we stick to the past tense. Now, Joe boiled the water, he made hot chocolate. What's it going to be now? It's going to be easy. After Joe had boiled. Remember when it was present tense, we had have boiled, has boiled. Now it's had boiled, he made hot chocolate. As easy as that. Right. Another thing that you have to know is where we're combining sentences using either or, neither nor, not only, but also or. Now, here's the trick. You have to know that these two guys go hand in hand. It's always either or, neither nor. We might only give you neither or either. You have to know that the or and a nor must be there as well. So, for instance, let me show you. Combine the following sentences. Start with neither. So it's like a trick question. You have to know, I still have to include nor in my answer. So these are the two sentences I'm giving you. The learners are not worried about the exam. The teacher is not worried about the exams. Now, can you see there are words that are repeated? And remember what we said, don't repeat the same words. So this part, not worried about the exams, we can delete. Now, let's start our sentence then. And we say then, neither the learners, now we're adding nor, because these guys go hand in hand, they love each other, they have to be together. Neither the learners nor the teacher. So that's part, easy. But what happens now? I've got learners, which are more than one, and I've got a teacher that is single. Who's taking the verb? Now, the rule says the verb agrees with the subject nearer to it. So, who's the subject nearest to the verb? It's the teacher, and we're going to have is worried. Neither the learners nor the teacher is worried. So the rule is either or, neither nor, not only but also. Look at the noun nearer the verb. That is your rule. You have to know that. But what if we ask you to join sentences using with, together with, like, including, or as well as? Well, the same rule applies. The learners are not worried about the exam. The teacher's not worried about the exam. Again, I'm going to take out a part that's repeated. Right? You agree? And we're going to start with as well as. The learners as well as the teacher. But what happens now? Again, now the same question. Do I use learners for plural or teacher for singular? Now, in this case, the verb agrees with the subject further away. So in this case, this is just the opposite of the previous one we learned. Now, we're focusing on learners, and learners are plural, and that's why I have to use are. Sure, these rules, it's rules you have to know. There's no other way to explain it. You just have to know it. Either or, neither or, not only but also. Look at the noun nearer the verb. All the other ones, you use the subject furthest away. That's the only way I remember it. Right, so let's try it. Now, this is your turn. You have to combine the following sentences into a single sentence, and we're going to give you not only. But now it's so easy. Okay. The broadcast lessons are popular. The broadcast lessons are helpful. You have to start, because it says begin with the words not only. I'm giving you 10 seconds, 20 seconds to quickly figure this one out. Now, did you get it right? Let's check. Let's see if you get it. So you have to start with not only. Not only are the broadcast lessons popular, but they, because I don't have to repeat lesson again, broadcast lesson, they are also helpful. Full stop. Do you see how easy that is? Not only are the lessons popular, but they are also helpful. It's as easy as that. Now, let's jump to something else, which is sometimes a bit difficult. But I'm sure after this you'll be able to do this. Reported speech. Look at this cute picture I have here. I've got a lady that says, I like Peter. And she's obviously on the phone talking to someone. And then this lady who has overheard the conversation goes, this is probably Peter. And she said she liked you. And this is exactly what reported speech is, where somebody else repeats what somebody else has said. Now, again, I've got a brilliant recipe, and if you just follow it, you can do it. Now, here's your recipe for. First thing you need to change is punctuation. That is so important, and it's so easy. Take away the inverted commas, the question marks, the exclamation marks, the capital letter. Just take them away. You literally get a mark for punctuation if you've taken all of these things away. Let me give you an example. We've got Mother asked, John, have you tidied your room? And now you're required to rewrite and reported speech. And we'll have Mother asked. And can you see, I've taken away the comma, I've taken away the inverted commas, I've taken away the question mark, and that last inverted comma. Please remember that last inverted comma. Ask John if he had tidied his room. And I'm just ending with a full stop. That's it. Tick. Easy. Punctuation first. Let's go on to your next one. The next one is your pronouns. Now remember, you have to change pronouns. Let me give you another example. Lebo said, my family and I are going to the flea market today. Now, Lebo said that she and her family were going to the flea market that day. Can you see what I obviously did? The very first thing, I took away my punctuation and then I did my pronouns. Step 1 was punctuation. Step 2 is your pronouns. Let's go to the next one. Tenses. So this is number 3. So what happens with tenses? Now, if your verb is in the present tense, then your tenses won't change. But if your verb, your introductory verb, is in the past tense, then the tense of a sentence must move back one stage to past tense. Okay, if this sounds weird, let me show you. It's much easier. Now remember, in the present tense, I said I do my homework. So if I want to say it in the past tense, I said I did. Can you see what happens here? Do becomes did. Am doing becomes was doing. Have done becomes had done. Have been doing becomes had been doing. It's as easy as that. You literally take one step into the past. Let me show you. The next thing you have to remember, and this is number 4, is your adverbs of time and place. So we have punctuation, pronouns, tenses, and adverbs. Now, these are words that they include that you quickly have to change. Here becomes there, this becomes that, now becomes then. Today is that day. Yesterday was the previous day. Tomorrow is the following day. These are things that you just have to know. You just have to be very wake up to find them in the sentence. Now, let's put everything together. Do you want to try it? I'll help you. Labour said, we appointed more teachers today than any other school in the district. Our introductory verb is in the past, which means all our words must go, all our tenses must go to the past. So let's see. Sorry. Labour said that, and remember the first thing we remove are all punctuation. That was the first thing, remember punctuation. So remove that. You can see we've only left with a little full stop. The next one was the pronouns. Remember that one? We changes to they. Appointed. So the next one was our tense. Appointed is already in the past tense. So if I'm in past tense, I have to go another step into the past. Now it becomes had appointed more teachers. Ha. Today is that adverb I was talking about, and becomes the day. Then any other school in this district becomes that district. Can you see what I'm doing? I am literally going step by step by step, word for word. It's as easy as that. Don't just jump in and think you can do it. Just go step by step. Let's try the next one. Andili said, I've passed the examination that I wrote last week. Andili said that, because it's a past tense, it's going to be a change, and we're going to use the same recipe. And you have to find something to remind you. Pat or, I don't know, tap. I don't know how you're going to remember this. It works for me. So again, we start with punctuation. So I take away my punctuation. First thing. Then I do my pronouns. I changes to he. Then I do my tense. Have passed becomes had passed. The examination that be careful. Here's another pronoun that I have to change. I becomes he. Here's another tense that I had to change. Wrote becomes had written. And last week becomes the previous week. And this is why I say to you, go step by step by step. So if you literally do as I do, literally word for word for word for word, I'm sure you'll get it right. Then it's so easy. Right. Oh, active and passive voice. You know we're going to get this one. So let's quickly go through it again. So active voice tells us what a person or a thing does. In other words, somebody does something on the object. So it works like this. We have a subject, then the verb, and then the object. This is what we call active voice. Now, passive voice is what is happening to someone or something. And in this case, our recipe looks a little bit different. We've got the object, then the verb, and then the subject. But once again, it's really easy if you know how to. Let me show you. I thought I found this sentence so nice. Maya Angelou writes books and poems. You're required to rewrite the sentence into the passive voice. What's the first thing you need to do? And can you see, this is something I've been doing the whole time. Find the verb. So, what's the verb? Writes. Underline it. Next thing. Divide the sentence then in your subject, your verb, and your object. So you need to find what is a subject, what is a verb, and that's an object. Now we've got the verb already. So, verb is writes, that we figured out, that's easy. So, the subject is then who writes. And who's writing? Maya Angelou. So, that is my subject. What is Maya Angelou writing? She writes books and poems, and that's the object. Can you see how easy that is? So easy. So, I know now what is my subject, my verb, and my object. Now what I have to do is I have to swap places. And I have to start my sentence with my object. Then I'm going to use the auxiliary verb. Ooh, I'll show you now what that looks like. And I have to change the verb to the past particle, followed by using the word by and then the subject. Sure, that's a mouthful, isn't it? So let's go step by step. Remember, this is our subject, this is our object, and this is our verb. Remember that? Now, with passive voice, we swap places. So what happens now, Maya Angelou is going to stand at the end, and books and poems are going to start at the beginning, because we have to start our sentence with the object. Books and poems by Maya Angelou. And this is the first part I do always. I literally do, I hope you can see my little arrows. I literally draw arrows to show, okay, I'm swapping these ones across. And what's left to do? Writes tells me it's the present tense. Present simple tense, remember that? So I'm going to use is or are. And obviously written. And this is what we call the auxiliary verb. This is your helping verb. Right, so why am I using are? Because I've got plural. Right, that's as easy as that. It's so easy. So, this is a little table I've created that helps me to remember when I'm doing active and passive voice. So, I'm going to show you quickly. It's really easy. Focus. Let's start. Present tense. If it's a simple tense, I'm going to use am, is, or are. If it's a past simple tense, I'm going to use was and were. For the future tense, I'm going to use will or shall plus be. So what happens if it's continuous tense? And remember, our continuous tense has the ing. Do you remember that? We recognize a continuous tense because it always has the ing. Now, in passive voice, I still have to keep the ing somewhere. How do I keep it? By using being. Can you see that? So I'm still going to use am, is, or are in the present time, plus being, plus the past particle. Or I'm going to use was and were in the past tense, plus being, plus the past one. But what if it's perfect and it has already been completed? Can you see what I'm using now? Been. Can you see the difference? So the being is used because of the ing of a continuous tense, but if it's perfect, we use been. If you can remember this, any sentence I give you will be so easy for you to do. Let's try the next one. You're asked to rewrite the following sentence in the passive voice. Learners across Gauteng are watching the broadcast lesson. Well, I hope they are. Let's look at this. Broadcast lessons are being watched by learners across Gauteng. You want me to show you how I got to that? Let's do it quickly. So I started off with my verb. Remember? Start with your verb. And I said, who are watching? The learners across Gauteng. And that is my subject. What are they watching? They are watching broadcast lessons, and that is my object. And simple, I just swapped places, as you can see. So I started with the broadcast lessons, ended with by learners across Gauteng. Are watching, let's look at my verb. Let me just write it here for you. So this is my verb. Now, you know we're in the present tense because we use is and are. ing tells me continuous, and then I know I have to use being. Broadcast lessons are being watched. Ta-da! It's as easy as that. I'm sure you can do this. Right. It's well done. I'm sure you're perfect for this. Now, I just want to remind you quickly. On Monday, when we did cartoons and advertisements, you will remember there will be a language question or two in your cartoon or advertisement. So don't be scared. Don't have a fright when you suddenly see these language questions. Now, I just wanted to remind you quickly, we went through them on Monday, but just to remind you that, remember, it's a language question, but it's going to be referred to, for instance, a specific frame. So look at this one, number 3. Rewrite Nancy's words in frame 2 in reported speech. We have to be. Can you see what we're doing now? We're asking a reported speech, but we're just asking it based on the cartoon. It's as easy as that, same thing. And then we can also give a homophone of pair. Now remember the pair of socks we had and everything. We've got so many pairs. Here's the tag. So we can ask you a tag question, for instance. Slugger doesn't have his own earbuds. Now, if I quickly just show you the answers here, I want to show you this one, number 3. Remember, we had to rewrite this in the past tense or reported speech. Nancy said that. Remember what we did? We first took away the punctuation, the pronouns. There's no adverbs in this case, and the tense. They have to be. They had to be. Voila. It is so easy. I'm sure you can do this. And a homophone of pairs. Remember, you have to go through your homophones and your homonyms again, all right? Remember, a pair is a pair. Right, my mom put a pair in my lunchbox. And let's do a last one. Let's quickly add a tag. Slugger doesn't have his own earbuds. Does he? Question mark. So don't be scared. If you are given a cartoon like this one and you are given questions, but remember, we've done everything. You can do it. So don't have a major fright when these language questions suddenly pop up on your advertisement or your cartoon. Right. And as you can see, these are things we've just done. How to write it in the future tense. There's a little contraction. They're just so easy. Rewrite in the brackets. Now, look at this one for me quickly. Rewrite the word in brackets. You are not required to rewrite the whole sentence. You are just required to rewrite the word. Hagar has patience. And there's another one. More patient, right? And of course, we have a nice homonym for you as well. Sure. You remember in the beginning we said, just stay calm. It's here. Well, here are my final words to you. It's here. Your final exam is here. Just focus and do it. We believe in you. You can do it. Good luck. And thank you.